As the Buddha once wisely said, your anger will not bring punishment upon others. It will only bring punishment upon yourself. But how can we achieve this inner peace when faced with life's obstacles? In the realm of eternal wisdom, we delve into a valuable lesson that encourages us to remain unaffected by external disturbances. Come and join us as we explore the profound teachings of Buddhism and embark on a transformative journey towards inner tranquility. Principle 1. Listen twice as much as you speak. In our initial lesson, we explore the profound impact of active listening. It goes beyond simply hearing words. It involves grasping the true essence behind them. Buddha eloquently expressed this idea by stating, "To comprehend everything is to pardon everything." This powerful statement emphasizes the strong link between understanding and compassion. When we prioritize listening over speaking, we embark on a transformative journey of enhanced empathy and understanding. It involves actively engaging with our surroundings rather than simply hearing them passively. By doing so, we enable ourselves to genuinely connect with the emotions, thoughts, and experiences of those around us. This practice allows us to open our hearts to the intricate tapestries of human experience, creating a profound bond of comprehension that goes beyond mere words. Furthermore, prioritizing listening over speaking does not weaken our voice. Rather, it enriches the caliber of our engagements. When we do choose to speak, our words carry more weight as they are carefully considered, well-informed, and impactful. They stem from a profound comprehension of the matter at hand, rather than a mere surface-level familiarity. This skill of attentive listening goes beyond individual dialogues. It encompasses being attuned to the world surrounding us, be it nature, silence, or the unexpressed sentiments of those who may lack a platform to speak. By engaging in this practice, we expand our horizons and gain a wider outlook on the world. We are exposed to a multitude of perspectives and experiences, which not only enhances our knowledge, but also cultivates a sense of tranquility and insight. By prioritizing listening over speaking, we unlock a vast realm of comprehension. We develop the ability to perceive what is left unsaid, empathize with those whose voices go unheard, and establish connections with the invisible aspects of life. This paves the way for deeper connections, both with others and within ourselves. Through this profound act of listening, we gradually unravel the complexities of existence, comprehend the nuances of human emotions, and uncover profound truths that shape our being. As we listen, we grow in understanding, in compassion, and in wisdom. Principle 2. Don't allow the comments and attitudes of others to control your life. Envision your life as a one-of-a-kind expedition, akin to an exhilarating trek through a breathtaking forest. As you traverse this trail, you encounter individuals with their own perspectives and dispositions, resembling diverse signposts or pathways within that enchanting woodland. Now Buddha, renowned for his profound wisdom, once imparted this valuable advice: avoid fixating on the past or fantasizing about the future. Instead, direct your thoughts towards the present moment. What does this signify? It signifies that your utmost attention should be dedicated to the present moment, much like when you're hiking and attentively navigating the trail ahead. The key takeaway from this message is the importance of forging your own path in life, free from the influence of others' opinions and judgments. It's common for people to offer their suggestions or critique your decisions, but it's crucial to remember that ultimately, you are in control of your own journey. While it's valuable to consider advice, it's equally important to trust your instincts and make choices that align with your personal values and aspirations. Just as you wouldn't allow someone else to select your hiking route, don't permit others to determine the direction of your life. This lesson urges you to listen to your own heart and values, stay authentic to yourself, and make decisions that align with your inner wisdom. By doing so, you retain control over your own life, navigating a path that feels true to you, regardless of others' opinions or judgments. It's about finding your own unique path and walking it with confidence and authenticity. Principle 3. Be ready to accept the worst. Life can be compared to a meandering river, at times tranquil and at other times tumultuous. The Buddha, renowned for his deep understanding, once imparted a profound revelation. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. What does this signify? It signifies that although we cannot evade the trials and tribulations of life, we possess the ability to determine our reactions towards them. Envision life as a collection of waves, each symbolizing the unique circumstance or challenge. Some waves may be small, akin to minor inconveniences, while others can be colossal giants, resembling significant setbacks or losses. However, here's the crucial point. Embracing the worst doesn't imply anticipating negativity at all times or dwelling in perpetual fear. Instead, it signifies equipping ourselves for those difficult moments that are bound to cross our path. Imagine it as having a life-saving device on a boat. We trust that we won't require it, but it's there as a precaution. When we are mentally ready to embrace the worst, we become akin to that life-saving device for our minds. We refuse to let fear of the unfamiliar or fear of failure dictate our actions. Acceptance acts as a shield, safeguarding us from the piercing arrows of hardship when life presents its obstacles, which is frequently the case. Our ability to accept serves as a protective shield. While we may experience pain, we refrain from exacerbating it by resisting the current circumstances or fixating on past mistakes. Acceptance does not equate to surrendering to defeat. Rather, it signifies an acknowledgement of the truth. It is recognizing that life, much like a river, has its share of highs and lows. By embracing this reality, we discover a sense of tranquility even when faced with challenges. So, in practical terms, being prepared to embrace the worst entails developing resilience and inner strength. It involves recognizing that setbacks are an integral part of our journey and can ultimately contribute to personal growth and wisdom. It means confronting life's challenges with composure, fully aware of our ability to navigate through difficult times. By embracing the possibility of the worst-case scenario, we not only find solace in adversity, but also uncover our own inherent strength and potential for self-improvement. Principle 4. Don't be afraid of failing, because it is the only way to progress. Buddha, the renowned spiritual mentor, once imparted profound enlightenment. Every morning, we are given a new beginning. It is our actions today that hold the utmost significance. These words serve as a powerful reminder that each day presents an opportunity for personal growth and knowledge acquisition. The key takeaway is to embrace failure not as something to be afraid of, but rather as a valuable stepping stone on our path towards self-improvement. Picture life as a sequence of steps, with each step symbolizing a day in your journey. Some steps may be effortless and straightforward, while others may present hurdles and barriers. When we face challenges or make errors, it's akin to stumbling upon one of those steps. But here's the beautiful part. Every setback, every mistake presents a chance to emerge even stronger. Consider it like this. When you're mastering the art of walking, you don't surrender after your first stumble. Instead, you gather yourself, take another stride, and with each effort, you grow more steady and self-assured. Similarly, confronting failure and embracing errors is how we acquire knowledge and advance in life. Each error we commit serves as a valuable instructor, revealing areas in which we can enhance ourselves. It acts as a profound lesson in both sagacity and fortitude. Similar to how a sculptor skillfully carves out an exquisite masterpiece from a solid block of stone by removing the superfluous elements, our setbacks and blunders contribute to molding us into more astute and proficient beings. Therefore, do not hesitate to embrace challenges, explore uncharted territories, and acknowledge that setbacks are an inherent aspect of personal development. Embrace your errors as they serve as valuable lessons that propel you forward. Keep in mind that it is not the number of times you stumble that matters. Rather, it is the number of times you rise again, each time with increased resilience and wisdom. This journey towards self-improvement and self-exploration commences with the bravery to confront failure directly. Principle 5. Keep it simple. Discovering a profound truth in simplicity, we find clarity and peace. According to Buddha, the great teacher, he emphasized that the way is not in the sky, the way is in the heart. This powerful lesson urges us to prioritize what truly matters in life by removing unnecessary complexities and distractions. Envision your life as a picturesque garden. Within this garden, an array of flowers exists, each with its own unique needs and impact on your well-being. Some flowers radiate vibrancy and happiness, filling you with joy. However, there may be others that are wilting and sapping your energy. Simplifying means devoting your attention to the flowers that truly nourish your soul while releasing the ones that weigh you down. It's akin to decluttering a messy room. By eliminating the excess, you create room for the essential elements to flourish and shine. Similarly, by simplifying your life, you can effectively prioritize your values, relationships, and inner well-being. Embracing a simple lifestyle does not imply a lack of ambition or accepting mediocrity. Rather, it involves recognizing what genuinely resonates with your deepest desires and goals. It entails releasing the perpetual pursuit of more and instead discovering satisfaction in the present moment. Imagine the tranquil allure of a crystal-clear night sky. The immensity of the heavens may appear intricate, but its true magnificence lies in its simplicity. Each star radiates with absolute clarity, while the hush of the night envelops us in serenity. Likewise, when we streamline our lives and concentrate on what truly counts, we unlock a comparable sense of lucidity and tranquility within our souls. As you embark on the journey of life, it is important to keep in mind the power of simplicity. Embrace the things that bring you joy and peace, while letting go of unnecessary burdens that obstruct your path. By embracing simplicity, you will uncover the true essence of a meaningful and harmonious life. Principle 6. Practice humility in your life. Buddha once imparted profound wisdom, stating, "True wisdom is not measured by one's incessant chatter, but rather by their inner peace, compassion, and fearlessness." This valuable lesson reminds us of the importance of humility, the virtue of remaining modest and unpretentious even in the face of great knowledge or achievements. Humility is not about diminishing your knowledge or accomplishments, but rather acknowledging that genuine wisdom surpasses mere words and self-promotion. It entails embodying qualities such as peace, love, and fearlessness in your conduct and relationships with others. By practicing humility, you become a tangible embodiment of wisdom. Envision a wise individual who exudes an aura of tranquility, not through grandiloquent or boisterous speech, but through their serene demeanor. They engage with others with genuine affection and empathy, nurturing authentic bonds. Fearlessly confronting obstacles, they transcend their own ego by embracing the interconnectedness of all living beings. Embracing humility unlocks the gateway to genuine comprehension as it fosters attentive listening and a genuine eagerness to absorb knowledge from others. It dismantles the walls of conceit and self-importance, paving the way for empathy and compassion to thrive. By embodying humility, not only do you acquire wisdom, but you also become a beacon of inspiration and guidance for those in your vicinity. Therefore, it is important to bear in mind that true wisdom is not determined by the quantity of our words, but rather by the extent of our humility. It is through embracing humility that we gain a genuine understanding of the world and cultivate empathy for all sentient beings. Principle 7. Be aware of the dangers of fortune. As Buddha wisely stated, "The greatest gift is good health, the greatest wealth is contentment, and the best relationship is built on faithfulness." These profound words serve as a guiding light, encouraging us to pursue fulfillment that transcends mere material possessions. In our relentless quest for achievement and riches, we frequently fail to acknowledge the transience of material wealth. The automobiles we own, the residences we inhabit, and the indulgences we relish are ephemeral, susceptible to alteration and deterioration. Although these comforts may provide momentary happiness, they should not be the sole preoccupation in our existence. According to Buddhist teachings, true wealth can be found in finding contentment with what we already possess. Contentment is the ability to experience peace and fulfillment in the present moment, cherishing the small joys of life. a genuine smile, a meal shared with loved ones, or a leisurely stroll in nature. It is during these moments of contentment that we truly realize the abundance and richness of our existence. Moreover, Buddha serves as a constant reminder that the truest riches lie within the bonds we cultivate. Loyalty and authentic relationships form the foundation of a satisfying existence. Surrounded by those we hold dear, we discover solace, happiness, and an innate sense of belonging that surpasses any material wealth. As we journey through life, it is crucial to recognize the perils of becoming excessively fixated on wealth and material possessions. Instead, let us value our well-being, foster a sense of contentment within ourselves, and foster genuine connections with others. By doing so, we embrace a deeper and more lasting form of prosperity that can guide us towards true happiness and inner tranquility. The teachings and eternal wisdom contained in the Buddhist quotes act as a profound guide to navigate the intricacies of life. They provide not only direction, but also profound understanding of how we can live a wise and peaceful life. Regardless of the obstacles we face, we trust that this exploration of these age-old teachings has illuminated the way towards a more enriching and mindful existence. As you navigate through your everyday life, let these teachings be a wellspring of motivation and resilience. Keep in mind that the insights we have delved into here are not just abstract ideas, but rather practical instruments that can be applied to your own personal journey. By embracing the wisdom encapsulated in these teachings, you possess the ability to discover tranquility, meaning, and a heightened awareness of both yourself and the world surrounding you. Until our paths cross again, we extend our gratitude for accompanying us on this enlightening expedition. May your future days be brimming with lucidity, compassion, and the profound enlightenment bestowed by Buddha. As we continue to explore these timeless teachings and apply them in our daily lives, I invite you to join our community at Zenful Living on YouTube. By subscribing to our channel, you'll have access to more enriching content that aims to guide you on a path of personal growth and mindfulness. Your engagement matters to us, so don't hesitate to like and comment on our videos, sharing your insights, experiences, and how these teachings have influenced your life. Together, let's cultivate a space of learning, sharing, and growth. Embrace this journey with us at Zenful Living, where every step towards mindfulness is a step towards a more fulfilled and peaceful life. Subscribe now, and let's continue this journey of discovery and transformation together.